Right. Evening, everyone. Obviously, we're here. We're here to look at the next assignment. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad we've got a bit of a turnout. Sunette is very quiet tonight, so I'm assuming Sunette is tired from submitting the assignment. Tokozani's just arrived and not announced himself. I'm getting concerned that my students are at a state of panic now that they're petrified about what is going to happen next. Okay, you've seen my face, guys. This is what I look like. Not the best view. This is a far better view. Not really. Right, let's have a glance at the assignment. So not a lot given in terms of the case study. Obviously, you can look at additional information, what that is there. Have a glance at these links. Hopefully, these links work. I know that sometimes those links die very, very quickly. How's it, Tokozani? I can't do that. My protections don't allow me to share it. It won't allow me to share it. You'll get a blank document. So if somebody could sort that out for us, I know some people have the ability to turn it to PDF and share it on the group. I can't do it. I'm just not allowed to do it. Even if I wanted to do it, I can't do it. Right. So let's look at the first one. So it looks at Learning Unit 4. So we're looking at an international strategy for sorbet, but we have to start with each of the sub-elements. Please remember, it's fine, Sunette, I'm teasing you. Each of the sub-elements, so we've got to make sure that we tick box each of these elements. And then obviously each of those will then contribute to what is in here. Right, so the rubric is there. Remember the balance between theory and application. Sometimes, oh, you're a superstar, Adrian, absolute superstar. Just remember to get the balance right between theory and application. And again, a reminder to integrate the theory as well as the application. So the balance is interesting because this is 25 and 35, so a little bit more for the application. Right, so let's look at Learning Unit 4. Let's go back to the question. So, stages of internationalization. You are looking at Learning Unit 4, right? And I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to go Control F, STAGES. Uh, okay, right. So, oh, you got to love it when you know that it's in here. Um, so, there are the stages of internationalization. So, generally, what happens when organizations start, they will focus on a domestic market. And it's often when they get to market saturation that they start looking to go broader. So, in terms of the domestic market, we know that the kind of market that sorbet is in is very populated by other players, whether they are franchise players, whether they are individual standalone businesses. So initially, you'll focus on the home market, and again, once you get to that market saturation, you move on. Generally, we start by exporting. Now, exporting is a nice way of starting because you do not expose yourself to significant risk. Now, whether you export to an export partner in the other country, in this instance, Namibia, or whether you set up a different way of going directly into shops, often the export partner is better. From there, you become a multinational. And this is where you start getting to the point where you develop a footprint in a range of other nations. And you start seeing that 30% of your total sales actually goes into these new regions. So, and it often has to do with recognition of your brand and what the brand is about, what the brand stands for. Global is 80%. Now, transnational is essentially the kind of Microsoft, the kind of Google, the kind of Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, those kinds of really big players that essentially have a footprint in almost every single nation in the world. I mean, economies of scale are fantastic. You can manufacture where it matters. You can focus on getting your input materials at the best cost. and essentially this is where the kind of multinational organizations exist. And I might have shared this with you previously, but if we look at the top wealthiest 100 economies in the world, two-thirds of those are multinationals. So it's possible for a company like Microsoft, it's possible for a company like Google and Apple, etc. Remember, these are trillion-dollar companies now, to buy themselves a country. So two-thirds of the wealthiest economies in the world are big business. And I can tell you now, with the growth of some of these companies, obviously Amazon is included in that, we will see that they're going to be more than two-thirds. And I think we'll get to the point where most of the surviving countries are those developed nations, because big business will take over in terms of wealth. Right, so the first one is Learning Unit 4, and it is slide 9 if you need to do a bit of extra research. There's not much in terms of discussion in the textbook. So remember slide 9 for the first bullet point. I'm just opening this again. Then you need to do a macro environmental analysis of Namibia. So the one thing I know is that there is significant amounts of information available in terms of those pestle factors around Namibia. So please just go and find these sites. The Namibian, tourism board is there. I know that the CIA has significant information on different countries. There is a lot of information. So just go and try and find websites that essentially are a little bit more trustworthy, but you'll see there are lots out there, a lot of sites linked to the Namibian government as well. If you could please do me a favor, and once you find a really good site, if we could share it on the WhatsApp group, just so that we make our lives easier. And I don't care if people SWOT analyses, pestle analyses are similar. So in terms of the pestle analysis, we've done this 1,000 times. Now, just remember, this now will be at a country level. So it is about our potential of surviving and thriving within Namibia. And you are still looking at Learning Unit 4, and you will start looking at it from, we've got to go quite deep into it. So have I now messed this up? Yeah. So that is where we're at. So you're looking at Learning Unit 4, slide 28, and so forth. Every time I do this, I keep reminding myself that I need to share this with you guys. Let me not do it that way. Let me do it this way. Hold on a second. Um, I'll put this on the group immediately. Silly man. So yeah, hold on a second. I'm quickly going to shove it onto the WhatsApp group for us. This is a wonderful way of looking at it. What is nice about this particular graphic is that it tells you almost what to write in terms of doing the analysis. So you can generally start with those two words. Government policy is pro international business, is pro imports, is pro investment. Political stability in Namibia is incredibly high. They've got a democratic system. They have elections that are free and fair. And you can almost introduce your analysis using each of these words. Now, obviously, it is to discern what is relevant in terms of Namibia. Please don't go more than 4 each of these. I think we'll limit this to about a maximum of 20 points. I don't think you need more than 20 points, and you can divide it into political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. So whichever way you want to do it. But this is a nice slide. I've shared this with you guys previously. If you had classes with me last, or in terms of 7321, you would have got this from me. Do you want me to stick it on? Let me just shove it on the group again. Okay. Let me just clear this. Hold on a second. My brain is not going to remember tomorrow. document. Okay, guys, I've stuck it on the WhatsApp group. It is a wonderful way to do these analyses. You can literally introduce each of the lines that you want to write by stealing the introduction there. I'm going to mute this for a second. Right. So you can see the different elements of pestle there. Don't write them as opportunity and threats. Rather tell me about each of those elements and whichever sub-elements we want to use in terms of that particular country. And you can see that I've unpacked each of these. You can see the kinds of things that are important when you look at a particular country. So we're looking at slides 28, 29. That often gives you a nice platform to discuss what this country is like. To be honest with you, Namibia is a wonderfully stable country. Um, and you can see there, guys, this is less important, but remember, Namibia as well as South Africa is part of SADC. If you search SADC, you'll see it's an economic arrangement between the sort of southern nations of Africa. Economic, and again, you can see the kind of things that we consider. Please, one of the mistakes people make when they do this kind of analysis is that they default automatically to telling me what, in this instance, Namibia is about. Please give me the theory first. So give me the theory. It is the balance between the theory. Describe what the economic factors are. And then from there, talk about those in relation to the actual country. Social, cultural, and it's about values and it's about changing lifestyles, etc. And again, tell us about the culture. Talk about the similarity between Namibian and South African culture, because in terms of a company like Sorbet, they need to know whether this is the kind of thing that will take foothold in another nation, in particular here again, Namibia. Technological, and again, I don't know how much technology, how big a role technology plays in Sorbet, but I would imagine they have a website, they have a platform, they have online booking. And again, so tell me what is part of technology, and then go talk about technology in terms of that particular nation. And then the political environment. I don't mind whatsoever if you have a political legal approach in terms of your discussion. So just remember, rather do politics and legal together, because politics drive legislation. But if you want to keep them separate, that's fine as well. You can look at some of the domestic laws, in particular, in terms of promoting competition, in attracting investment. Those are key things that you'll consider when you do this analysis. Okay, other elements of the legal environment. So, in terms of what we're looking for from a pestle analysis perspective, we are looking from 28 to 37, 36. So, Learning Unit 4, slides 28 to 36. How did I do that? Right. So the first one, and then your mode of internationalization. So when you enter into a specific nation, there's certain criteria that we have to consider. So we're still looking at Learning Unit 4. Mode. Let's see if I search mode, whether it's going to listen to me this time. Okay. So looking for a particular slide. Um, okay, yeah, no, you see, this is where they're using some of the old ones. Um, uh, uh, Sorry, guys, I'm okay. So the slides we're looking at are these. So it's not the entry mode, it is the way that we're internationalizing. So in discussing this, so this is still learning unit 4, it's slide 19. In terms of discussing the kind of things we consider when we internationalize, we talk about two specific aspects. The first one, the need to put to customize our stuff to meet local, specifically local demands. So the idea of being locally responsive and having to adapt and change your products, or the idea of also matching that with the need to be cost effective, so to reduce cost. So it is the balance between those two. So please discuss this initially, the two critical factors when you enter. And then obviously you will talk about the specific options here. Oh, my gosh, sorry, this does jump. Okay, and then you'll talk about this. So, in terms of your strategies, the options that we have are here. So, it's the balance between cost reduction. If you're selling Bugattis, no one cares about cost. You'll adopt a certain approach. I think in terms of sorbet, we know that they focus as value for money, and then the need for local responsiveness. So, I think the cost pressures are very, very high, but the reality is that we have no real need for local responsiveness, because I think skincare is skincare is skincare. And, in terms of climate and other issues, it's very similar. So my suggestion is this global strategy. So if we look at this one here, so again, just a little bit further in the discussion, the criteria that we use to decide when going international are those, your internationalization strategy. And so for me, yeah, you can see here, I don't think it'll be an international strategy. I think it will be a global strategy. So you have strong pressures for cost reduction, because we know the focus about value for money for sorbet, and you don't have a significant need to specifically customize the items that you're selling there. So the global strategy would be your best option in terms of internationalization. The other options are the expansion strategies. So essentially, you fit in terms of those specific demands. And I think what often will happen is, once you go from local to global, is that you would have had significant experience in terms of perfecting your product, in terms of getting all the learnings right, so that when you decide to go into another country, that all those elements, all those mistakes have been corrected, and you've got a good product, you've got a clear sense of your marketing strategy, you've got a clear sense of how you'll franchise, etc. And you can see here, you can look at subsidiaries. You are focusing here on price sensitive customers, because let's be honest, sorbet is about value for money. You'll get economies of scale, because you'd be able to manufacture not just from a South African perspective, you'll now be manufacturing more, reducing the per unit cost. Sales could be coordinated from the nation that you're in. Remember, the focus is just on Namibia. And then still you will keep the focus in terms of your standards and your decision making control, things like that. Quality will still be centralized in South Africa, and then you can start looking at producing elsewhere in those favorable locations. So the key thing here, it's slide 44 and slide 41. So slide 44 and 41. So tell me about the two criteria that we have to use, and then go, so 41, and go and discuss it from a global perspective. The others won't work because it's price and the low need for responsiveness. So that is the appropriate mode of internationalization. And then, guys, yeah, arguments to support your recommendation. So just remember, I think this is where you can now tell me why you've decided to do this, and everything essentially is funneling towards those recommendations. those arguments. So that's the first one. Please remember to pay attention to the rubric. Yeah, I simply reproduce the rubric. I'm quite strict in terms of looking at the elements of the rubric and marking on the basis of that. And it also allows you to be able to mark yourself. Oh, sorry, guys. I have my bi-weekly injection every time that I have you guys as a class, and that messes with me so badly. My eyes are pink eye, my eyes are watery, I've got a runny nose, unpleasant. Right, so question two, and you can see this is 20 marks in total. We talk about strategic, visionary, and managerial leaders. So we're looking at Learning Unit 5 here. In terms of Learning Unit 5, uh, right. So yeah, you just have to look for a comparison. So there's your initial strategic leader discussion. The key difference between strategic leaders, managerial leaders, and visionary leaders. Visionary leaders are your Steve Jobs type individuals who have this powerful vision that they communicate. um, your managerial leaders, they are those individuals that allow you to get things going. They will put those elements in place. Sorry, guys, hold on a second. My wife's alarm is. The managerial leaders are those leaders that can actually put the building blocks into an organization, can get the structure, can create the culture, can get those sub elements, the planning, organizing, controlling elements in place to essentially bring life to that vision. A strategic leader combines those two, combines a visionary leader with the managerial leader. So, in terms of that question, and let me just check the question again. Yeah, differentiate between those three. I know that in here there is a table that allows me to do that. Um, ensure leadership. Um, Sorry, guys, I'll find it now. Where there's a comparison here. Sorry, guys, I'm messing around a bit and I'll get to it now. There is a comparison. Sorry, I'm just going to have to go through each of these. So lots of definitions around strategic leaders. I'm looking for the visionary leaders. This is what's frustrating me. And my concern is that this might be, the questions might be based on the previous textbook. So let me just check in my slides here. So other lecturers would be a lot more organized. Clearly, I'm not. This is the old set of slides. Okay, there it is, guys. Oh, flippin' hell. Can somebody quickly, has anyone got the previous version of the textbook? Previous version of the textbook. Okay. What I'll do is I'll go to Bostik to Emirates Marisburg tomorrow, but somebody needs to prompt me so that I can quickly go and get this. Can somebody please just remember those pages as well, so that I'll go get the textbook and I'll take a picture of this. So there it does a comparison between visionary and managerial leadership. Visionary leaders are those Steve Jobs type individuals. Managerial leaders are those individuals that are very good at creating the organization structure and putting the elements in place to give life to a vision. The managerial leaders plus the visionary leaders, those are your strategic leaders. Okay. And you'll see that there is stuff that, have you got that? Tokozani, please take a picture of that particular page for me and quickly load it onto the WhatsApp group. If you don't mind, that's a good idea. Yeah, thank goodness. So they've based the assignment on the old textbook, and there obviously have been changes. So that is then sorted. 28 and 29. Thank you, Ellen. And then just to go to the question compulsory. And then what type of management? Guys, to be honest with you, how are you not on the group? Boy, can somebody quickly share the link of the group in the chat? You miss out on so much by not being on the group. Let me quickly just do that as well then. Okay. Oh, Ellen, you're such a star. Okay, there is that answer, guys. Hold on. Add a member, invite via group link, copy link. Tokozani, there's the link. Get on the group. Okay, Ellen, thank you so much, guys. So there is that discussion, and that's question 2. And again, the rubric there. So question 3 is about ethical leaders. So be very careful in terms of this particular question, guys. Remember, this is about Namibia. So be careful not to talk about our laws and our approach and the King reports. Rather go see what the alternative is and what Namibia's version of the King reports are when we discuss this one. So in terms of ethics, it is again learning unit 5 and control F, E, oh, please don't tell me this is also stuff from the previous textbook. Yeah, so okay, so those are the ethical practices. Um, can I just upload these old slides onto the group as well, guys? So we know. So it is what you can see which slide it is. I don't know what the number is there. Hold on. So let me get onto the WhatsApp group again. Thanks again, Ellen. You're a superstar. Let me quickly upload the old slides. So remember the old slides. Just if you are using them, refer to the previous textbook. So you'll see the PDF is the previous version of the slides, and very much everything in terms of these last two questions are from there. Thank you so much, Ellen. You are such a star. So just be careful here, guys. We know what ethics is and what it entails. If you want additional information, there is a nice ethics discussion in the other textbook, your second year, first semester discussion. Do you want me to upload that summary for you as well onto the group so that you've got extra information around ethics? Okay. Right. So let me put it on the WhatsApp group. I don't know why I'm doing it there. So that's the previous version of the slides, and this is the bit on ethics from your second year textbook. Okay. Um, you'll see that the reference is in the textbook there. And you can have a glance at the business ethics in terms of that. Just a caution. Remember, this is about Namibia, so we're not going to mention the King reports. Um, oh my gosh, hold on. It is it's the entrepreneurship one. These slides are crappy because they're old. But it's that one, van Aert, Oosthuizen, or Besaidnout, sorry, that one there. You would have done it for 6221, guys. 6221. So yeah, nothing dramatic in terms of that as well, just the focus on Namibia. I think this is an imminently gettable assignment in terms of getting to an 80% average. There are no dramas, there are no yeah, catch you out pitfalls in terms of that. Remember to look at each of the sub elements in the questions and to focus on the rubric. Let me stop the recording. Any questions at this stage, guys? Sorry, it's a little bit hickledy pickledy, but yeah, it is easy peasy.